Okay.
So this first example is how we've used talking maths as a resource. Mr. G is a 76-year-old gentleman with frontotemporal lobe dementia. He was seen as an inpatient in an older person's mental health ward. The progression of dementia has impacted on his expressive communication skills and on his swallow. He was referred to speech and language therapy by the ward for a functional swallow assessment following concerns of coughing on food and drink. On initial case history taking, Mr. G was able to respond to closed questions in relation to his eating and drinking skills. So he could say, do you like the taste of that or not? Is it too spicy, etc. But was unable to describe or provide detail in his own words. And this really seemed to cause him some frustration. It was also noted that he required longer processing time as the assessment progressed, which indicated possible fatigue. So this was obviously a big effort for him. The following week, the speech and language therapist brought along a talking mat to explore Mr. G's capacity and understanding in relation to his swallowing difficulties. Areas that were explored included his current understanding of dysphagia and the possible consequences of it, any concerns that he had, his food and drink preferences, and any other factors such as the environment or whatever else that he felt would be helpful.
So we had the first question that he discussed, which was, what food do you like? And then he was asked to show which he did and which he didn't. The second question, how do you feel about eating and drinking? And this is just to get his emotional response to eating and drinking at the moment, whether it was okay, whether it wasn't. And at this point, Mr. G replied that he liked it, but he was worried about it, but he wasn't sad about it. And then the third question he was asked is, what helps you when you're eating and drinking? So he's asked again to say whether something helped, it didn't help, or it wasn't too sure, didn't know about it. And then he was asked specific things. So being in a noisy environment, does that help? Does it not help? Do you not know? And the person is asked to place it where they feel it fits most. It relies less on language. It helps them with the cognitive effort and demands of doing this. So you take each situation and ask the person to discuss it with you. Do you want help when you're eating and drinking? Is it better when you're in a quiet environment? And the person has to place it. Does it help when you're eating slow? Does it help when things, or does it not help when things are rushed?
So the result of that then was that Mr. G was able to, well, he enjoyed this method of communication and was able to provide really valuable input into the development of the eating and drinking strategies that would be used, both for his physical and his emotional well-being. And also, something like this can then be shared with the ward staff for future use as well. So it's a very versatile tool. So the second example that we want to show you is something called our Rainbow Transition Pack. This is something that we've developed within our speech and language therapy service in mental health and learning disabilities. So really, some of this work has arisen following the Welsh Government Rehabilitation and Recovery Framework. This is particularly concerning the population groups 3 and 4, which are vulnerable people, or those who are avoiding services. And this resource pack is a range of resources which we're going to just flick through very quickly to show you, that can be used to support people with the communication really in issues that they may face as they try to return to community services following lockdown. I think there has been recognition of the increased anxiety that people have had with the current situation, but not around the communication skills that they need to express how they feel. So this can be used as a standalone resource, or it can be used in conjunction with something that's been produced by our psychology service, which is called Returning to Community Activities. And we have provided links so that those resources can be used together. So the pack, just to flick through and show you some resources quickly. It can be used to support communication with individuals or groups regarding any issues they have, questions or anxiety they may have following lockdown. Okay. It can be used to encourage staff or families to have conversations with people regarding their feelings and thoughts following this difficult time. It can give people the means and the vocabulary to communicate their thoughts and feelings. And it can support communication regarding issues raised in the psychology toolkit about returning to community activities. It also supports staff and families to encourage people to safely return to community activities as well, and really making accessible a lot of information from government around returning to services, which we've utilised or developed where required. And there's also a structured activity path that can be followed by day services or supported living staff with support from speech and language therapy to run groups themselves around supporting transition back into the community services. And this is really a resource that's, we've got a lot of information pulled together now, but it's ongoing because information is either changing still or there are additional things that need to be added. Okay, so this has given you a very small glimpse really into some of the things that we can do. This is a fraction of the activities that we could be involved in, and we very much hope that we will be part of consideration of the future workforce so that we can show what we can do. Thank you. And this is the Royal College website, which we really suggest that you go onto that for some further information. Thanks very much.